See you. Sorry,
Like to see on better occasions.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Yeah, I don't need your sentence though. Put on in there.
Given what the rabbi said, it might be appropriate.
Caught it for you. That's the last square. All right.
Go sit next to Ashley. I'm just standing.
Why do you want to do
When she goes out, she's
Yep.
Trying to be here 15 minutes early and traffic.
Ham radio, guys.
iPad.
No, no, no.
Make sure your phones are off or set to vibrate.
Yeah, I know, I've met her. I can't take her. Oh, yeah, maybe I'll stay. Kelly, do you want
Adonai miyagur bo halechem ishkon b'har kodshecha, God who abides in your house, who dwells in your holy mountain. Those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth within their hearts, who would not slander others or wrong them or bring shame on them, who scorn the lawless but honor those who revere God, who give their word and come what may do not retract, who would never exploit others nor take bribes. Those who live in this way, they shall never ever be shaken. Amen. These words of the Psalms, they echo the life of a very dear and precious human being. We've come here to honor Bill, and we remember him, his humanism, his decency, his kindness, his presence in our lives, his sense of perspective about what happens in this world. This season of Sukkot, it is practice for the Jewish heritage to study passages from Kohelet, from Ecclesiastes, the most famous of which was set to song, which I won't sing, but you'll recognize the words. There is a season for everything, a time for each purpose under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, A time to throw stones, a time to gather them, a time to embrace, a time to pause from embracing. A time to seek, a time to lose, a time to keep, and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. And this, my friends, is the time we gather to remember. El Harachaman, O sweet God, you've taken a blessed, beloved friend from us. We gather now and we raise our voices in prayer to the source of life. We ask for comfort, for a sense of shared purpose as a community, for solidarity and love. And they are abundant. We have them all. Just looking up something, sorry folks. As we gather here at Bill's graveside, we will, near the conclusion of our service, offer to him what the rabbis call the chesed shel emet, the final kindness we can assist someone with on earth, assistance in their burial. And so we'll invite you, if you wish, at the conclusion of the service, to succeed the family as they may wish, to spread a small amount of earth in Bill's grave, assisting him with a mitzvah that he can no longer assist to us, and acknowledging the goodness by which he lived. At the conclusion of our service here, the family invites you, if you wish, to join them at Mindy and Martin's home at 134 Bridgeport Way, Mayfield Heights, Ohio, at the corner of Cedar and Lander. It says here in my notes, Mindy, that you owe an assignment to Rabbi Lelyveld from confirmation. I don't know what that's. Just kidding. Your account says literally you were confirmed 1974.
That's right.
Excellent. Family invites you, if you wish, to honor Bill's life, to do so with a contribution to Rescue Village Animal Shelter, 15463 Chillicothe Road in Novelty, Ohio. And of course, to continue over the coming days and weeks to reflect with them, to remember with them, to offer gestures of love and condolence and sympathy. Friends, contemporary Rabbi Jacob Shankman once wrote that inside of each and every one of us is a hallowed sanctuary where our loved ones who touched our lives memorably now abide. When we look within, we can find them. In that sanctuary, they experience then a kind of spiritual immortality. Their love is still near to us. They talk to us, they tell us tales. When we encounter our loved ones who have died, if Rabbi Shankman is right, we can be soothed then in our pain and ennobled through our sorrow. I share this teaching because of the essence of the simplicity of our gathering here today. We gather at a time where nature itself is telling us that all things must pass and that new life will someday soon be on the horizon. We gather here, we speak traditional words, and when we gather at our homes, we're illumined by the flames of simple candles and by the loving gestures of people who remember. Today we speak of someone like William H. Kahn, Bill Kahn, and we say of them, Zichrono livracha, may their memory be a blessing. Friends, we can look within today and see there a kind and caring soul, a man who combined great generosity with tremendous humility, subtlety, and loyalty. Bill Kahn's unique combination of character traits included things he hid from view, such as how deeply vulnerable he could be to the elements or to his self-effacing nature. Bill was complex, painfully shy enough not to have engendered a romantic relationship with the women to whom he was attracted. But he had passions, many, many passions. Well, you know what I'm talking about. You could see it all over him, in the fine clothes he was wearing, in the electronics that he enjoyed, and in the sweet rides that he drove everywhere. Bill made friends near and far through his interest in ham radio. We're going to hear about that in a few moments. His love of cars, trains. But he also would gladly and quietly binge watch Law and Order or Big Bang Theory and forget the world outside the room in which he was in. I remember meeting him a few times two salient memories. One was at Ashley and Mikey's wedding, where he couldn't have been more assertive and organized to help me find my place at the family's very special operation at the Red Maple Inn. Another time I met him was when my wife and I were visiting with Evie and Gordon when they lived in Wiggins, and we were trying to sneak some of our homemade challah past the kosher police. When Bill came by for a visit to his family and discovered there was a rabbi in the house, he did what his family told me he had later become a signature move of him later in life. Kind of sat awkwardly in the corner trying to blend into the walls. Then he discovered that Mikey was also there, and the two of them got to playfully razzing each other about something. I don't remember what, because in the 13 years I've known Michael Davidson, I've never had a conversation with him where someone wasn't playfully razzing him. Mikey yesterday talked about his great uncle's quiet, unstinting passion for making connections with kids. It is possible he had a special line of Nordstrom credit just for shopping with Jessica. At the same time, he seemed to have a special tab at 7-Eleven or some other joint for Diet Pepsi, cheeseburgers, fries.
Yep.
He was equally at home in either of those places. Mikey says of Uncle Bill that he remembers Bill finding a group to connect with others, including conversations with Mikey's Bubby on Martin's side. I was told that when first meeting him at the B spot, Ashley just assumed that with his chumminess and similar looks and a lot of hand-me-down clothes that went to Martin, that he just came from the Davidson side. Now, I don't want to say this the wrong way. I want to say this precisely as I meant to. In thinking about the essence of this man, I think in a way, he was from the Davidson side. Because if Bill Kahn cared for you, he was on your side. If there was within you a spirit of playfulness, if there was around you a circle of loyalty, if you were honest, and perhaps you had maybe even a small need that needed to be fulfilled, whether you were a friend he met at the ham radio conventions, or a co-worker at Red Maple Inn, or even if you were his longtime cat, Collins, who, by the way, needs a home. If you were any of those things, you were family to him. Now, he didn't use such dramatic terms. If you were family to Bill, you just knew his qualities of decency and goodness because he showed you them with equanimity and positivity. Some of the biggest beneficiaries of this were the people he channeled such pride through his loving embrace of the children and grandchildren within Evie and Gordon's orbit. Lainey and Parker, Luca, Jordan, Jessica, Mikey, and Ashley. He admired and loved each of you. You don't need me to tell you that, but I want to. You are so special to Uncle Bill. So special that at this point of the funeral service, if he were alive, well, and present, he'd be so embarrassed by all this attention. And he'd probably be taking a ride with you down Mayfield Road to find some hot dogs.
You're right.
Your parents, when you are fully at play, be it with one another, or with friends, or with a family pet, or with them, they see a spark in those moments of the light that shined always from their Uncle Bill, who wasn't that much older than them. So in growing up, his visits, or even the times he babysat for them, and often the Wolf children, while Evie and Gordon went out of town, Bill found his element, his groove. Neil, Lee and her Nicholas, Allie and Glenn, Mindy and Martin are remembering such a positive influence in either their childhood or their marriage and family, and both. When some of us met at Fairmount Temple yesterday, Neil talked about being excited when Uncle Bill was coming over. He was ready on a whim to fulfill his nephew's or niece's desire to be flown like an airplane over Bill's head, no matter how close it was to bedtime or dinner time. He also conveyed to them nothing but love and acceptance. Neil admires how Bill, while not always enjoying everyone he encountered in business or community, also managed to live more than 7 decades without creating a single enemy or a relationship with great friction. Lee talked about how growing up she may never have appreciated it, that not everyone had such a loving and easy, caring and paying attention from an uncle as she had from Uncle Bill. She remembers him being willing to pay her $1 for each back scratch. She She remembers even in recent months and years that as his health declined, Bill was still so thoughtful to be sure that everyone got their birthday cards promptly and right on time. Gordon brought one today that you just gotta see. If not because it pokes fun at his age, then just to see Bill's handwriting, which he made sure to place carefully with his personal thoughts on every card. Neil explained that it was as though he had a stock of ready to make you laugh or smile, just plain impressive cards to send. Allie texted me this morning, and I just want to read. She said she wanted to add that he was such a loving uncle, was at every family event, such a huge part of the family, and spoiled us all rotten. He would take Hallie to go get candy as a kid and shopping, and it always was the most fun. Would babysit her when the parents went on vacation. You guys went on vacation? He always said goodbye 5 to 10 times before he left a family gathering. He wanted to make sure he said goodbye properly. Bill, that's what we're here for today. 5 or 10 different times to say goodbye properly to you. Mindy says that thoughtfulness is just how indicative of how her Uncle Bill was the best uncle anyone ever had. Anyone could ask for. Growing up, and even in the way he built relationships throughout his life, the Red Maple Inn, and so forth. She's going to speak in a few moments and remind you of some of her family's special memories in the first person. But I know the entire family is grateful to Mindy, as on their behalf she has helped to steward a great deal of Bill's needs and care as the fault lines and frailties of growing older and managing diabetes and other challenges he faced as he lost independence. Now, Evie says of her brother that remembering him just comes easy to her. Born on New Year's Eve in 1947, Bill was adopted into her family and was a long-desired and wanted second child to their mom, Jean. So focused on raising children and supporting their activities. And their father, Harold, whose passion was more for his work as a prominent attorney, but who also wanted Jean to be happy. Though Evie was already, I think, a junior high school at Fernway when her brother was brought home to the tune of her dad's honking horn. His sweetness and affection, blonde hair, blue eyes, his exuberant energy was an absolute fulfillment of their mother's desire to grow their family and to bring to Evie what she always has, a cute baby brother. It made such a difference in their Maynard Road home in Shaker Heights. Evie remembered yesterday a time that her brother was a very young toddler, and he seemed to spring a game of hide and seek on an unsuspecting family at their Aunt Kay and Uncle Harry's house. Only they didn't know that he was playing a game. Now, his intense energy, his love of climbing and anything near hyperactivity made it hard for teachers to find a way to connect to this intelligent, savvy kid to educational activities that would meet his needs. So Bill completed the later part of secondary school at the Garland School in New York. And then, thank goodness, at Gordon's urging and intervention with his father-in-law, instead of continuing at Tri-C, where I'm sure he would have done fine, Bill instead went on to Gordon's alma mater, Ohio Northern University. There he pledged and became a brother at AE Pi, a Jewish fraternity in a school otherwise influenced by the United Methodist Church. But it was at AE Pi that he built such joy and camaraderie with his experience, made friends with other guys, they helped one another manage through the various commitments to classes and to graduate. If I remember correctly, because I have a cousin there, Ohio Northern's team name is the Polar Bears. Now, I'm a rabbi, and I don't want to speculate too far into the life after this one, but if there is another life to go after this one, in that life, Bill might be found somewhere inside a swag store, buying whatever Ohio Northern Polar Bear merch heaven has to offer. He's getting souvenirs for us because he took joy in bringing and making joy and connection to thoughts to others. Martin reminded me that Bill would do anything for you, but truly, really did not want you to do anything for him.
It's true.
He didn't want to bother you. That's the way he put it. For some reason, and perhaps because he honestly alluded to sometimes feeling that dislocation that can come with adoption, Bill seemed to question the true depths of his connections. Gordon told me yesterday of Bill's seemingly fearless approach to heights. As his first job after Ohio Northern was with Cleveland Mobile Radio,
Yeah. Yep.
and he said Bill would stand on top of Cleveland's tallest buildings to place antenna there.
Yep.
But when he would be praised by Gordon, Bill resisted Gordon's easy way of referring to him as a brother. The two were most certainly fraternity brothers, and brothers in solidarity with Gordon's beloved Evie and Bill's beloved sister, Evie. The two of them were the kind of brothers that work on shared goals for achievement at E.B. Brown, later at Red Maple Inn. But Bill seemed to self-isolate somewhat and would resist the affections that often arise between siblings and the terms of endearment that come so easily to Gordon's lips. Evie says that in a way, perhaps even as early as in their childhood home, while she was away at college perhaps, that may have been the time that was born into him a kind of melancholy that emerged more fully in these recent years of infirmity. But she says she wishes that he knew just how much wonder and happiness and amazement that he brought to her and to his family and friends. So it is a gift then. It's a gift today to remember the feelings Bill Kahn engendered during his lifetime. That he is buried here as a part of a synagogue with Jewish prayers embracing his name reminds us that it is a holy thing to remember Bill Kahn. In our culture, holiness, or what the Torah calls Kedusha, is best applied to time. Time imbued with sanctity, specialness. You might say time like one feels when as a child someone knows how much joy it will bring to lift their nephew or niece high up in the air and let them see the world from new heights. Bill wasn't afraid of heights. In our faith, it is explicit that such activities, we just read about this last week on Yom Kippur, are lo bashamayim. These activities are not in the heavens. There isn't some manual across the seas that tells us how to make holiness happen. It's close to us. We know in our heart and in our words, in our thoughts of others, just what to do. The gulf between an ordinary and holy moment in our faith is neither unbridgeable nor permanent. So let's just allow ourselves in the coming hours or through the rest of the Sukkot festival, and not just now, but going forward wherever we go, as we travel. Let us remember as holy, as kadosh, as any other holy moment, the time we spent with this bright, connecting, and loving presence who walked this earth for 74 years. Amen. I'm honored to call on Mindy, and I think joined by Mikey and Jess, to share some memories and reflections.
So my mom is 12 years older than Bill. Bill was 12 years older than me, and I'm 12 years older than Hallie. So as Bill was so close in age to me, it always felt like he was part of my family, or my immediate family, because he spent so much time with us over the years. I remember all of my friends being jealous of me because I had Uncle Bill. He hung out with us. He took us to so many places when we were kids. We loved going to Heights Pharmacy, where he would always buy us lots of candy, and we assured him that we would never tell Mom. Sorry, Mom, the secret's out now. Uncle Bill always had really, really cool cars, and he took us for lots of rides, especially in his convertible. His cars were spotless, and he was always cleaning and waxing his cars to perfection. I remember just a few years ago backing out of my driveway, forgetting that his Mini Clubman was in the driveway, and I whacked off his entire rearview mirror. I was so nervous telling him about the accident. He took it in stride, but of course his car was at the repair shop immediately and fixed within 24 hours. I fondly remember Uncle Bill saving my car the weekend of my college graduation at BU. I had this really ugly Plymouth Horizon car, and he was walking over to pick it up at the parking lot. Well, there were two guys in the car trying to remove the ignition. So Uncle Bill went running to the car, and these guys just took off. He saved the day, although it was a challenge driving that car back to Cleveland with part of my ignition missing, but he did save my car. The Davidson family has so many terrific memories of Bill going on all of our family vacations with us. I especially remember our trip to DC, where Mikey, for whatever reason, had numerous tantrums, but Uncle Bill was always able to calm him down. When Martin and I were whooped at the end of the day, there was always Uncle Bill to the rescue. He never tired of spending time with Jess and Mikey when they were little, and if I was in a bind, he was always there to help us out. Bill attended all, and I mean all, of Jess and Mikey's school programs, many dance recitals for Jess, and of course lots of taekwondo competitions and baseball games for Mikey. I was really lucky to work with Bill at both E.B. Brown Opticians and the Red Maple Inn. We spent many lunches together in my office down on East 30th Street together, as well as sitting outside at the beautiful Red Maple Inn eating lunch. I believe that some of his best times were at the Red Maple Inn, as everyone embraced him, and I'm looking at Gina right now, and they were always there for Bill, especially when he would have a flare-up with his diabetes. Gina would come running with the orange juice.
Oh yeah.
There are so many memories that I will always cherish and hold dear to me. As many of you know, the past few years have been very difficult for Bill due to his medical challenges. Even more yucky have been the past 4 months, where he has been in and out of the hospital numerous times. I cannot say that he was a stellar patient, and he certainly had words for the doctors during his appointments, which I will not share with you. But he was a trooper, and he really hung in there to the last moment. I'm going to miss you, Uncle Bill, so much, and life won't be the same. I know that you will always be at my heart, and may you rest in peace. Mikey and Jess, I believe, are going to just give a couple of words about their Uncle Bill.
Okay. Well, I don't have a formal speech prepared. I was just, well, we've been reminiscing over the past few days, and I wanted to tell a funny story. There's many funny stories with Uncle Bill. But actually, just last year, I was in town, and my mom, I think, had asked me to go pick up, I picked up Uncle Bill, and then I was meant to go pick up Nana and Papa. And I asked my mom, well, I'm notorious for getting really close to like running out of gas, but I never run out of gas.
Oh boy.
It's like a challenge for me a little bit. And so I called my mom and I said, you have, this many miles left on your car, like, what's your range after you hit 0? Which you probably shouldn't be asking, but she said, oh, you're fine, no problem, like, you'll make it to the gas station. So I go pick up Uncle Bill, we're in the car, driving down Cedar, on our way, and all of a sudden, the, like, rabbit mode goes on. I didn't even know that was a thing, but it just tells me, like, you're in rabbit mode, and, like, I just come to a screeching halt on Cedar Road, like, middle of the road. Uncle Bill's in the back car just, like, giggling, like, thinks it's funny, and I'm panicked, because what am I supposed to do? I ran out of gas. Also, he wasn't very mobile at the time, so in my brain, I'm like, okay, I have to literally leave Uncle Bill in the car in the middle of Cedar Road, while someone could come hit the car, I don't know. So I put on the flashers, I get out of the car, and I, like, have never sprinted so fast in my life, but then I get to the gas station, like, have no idea how to fill up a, like, tank thing, screaming at everyone there, like, my uncle's in run back, and then I can't get the gas tank in, and then finally Uncle Bill like wants to be a part of the action. He figures out how to get out of the car. I have photos if anyone wants to see of the whole incident. And then a policeman finally comes and helps me because I have no idea how to fill the gas tank with this thing. It's actually very difficult. If anyone's ever had to do it. No, it is. The policeman actually had a rough time as well. Thank you. But finally we, got on our way, and we, the whole time, I'm panicked. Also, I'm supposed to go get Nana and Papa. I can't even call them because I'm trying to handle this whole thing. I'm calling my mom, also yelling at her, the whole thing. And he just thinks this is a fun adventure. This was the talk of his probably week. Kept calling me to laugh about it. So I just think that was a really funny, and not at the time for me personally, but now to think back on it is a very funny memory that happened just last year. And we'll always remember Uncle Bill for sure. I wore my newest Nordstrom boots in his honor today, so I hope that he's looking down on us. But yeah, Mike, do you want to say anything?
I will say the tantrums in DC, I had requested ice cream and was not given ice cream. So I was upset. I was also 5. I sure can. And then just one other thing, speaking to his generosity, I know I failed my first driver's test. Did you fail your? Okay. Well, this is just a me story then. I had failed my first driver's test. I had nudged a cone very slightly, and so I figured the only way to pass was to get a smaller car. And so I had calmly asked Uncle Bill, who at the time had his Volkswagen Cabrio, if I could use his car, and he was very generous and said yes. And I took the test and passed, and I think he was nervous driving home because we had to do that merge getting on to 271 where Mayfield, where the lanes kind of crisscross. But he took it like a champ and didn't say anything. But I think there were some terrified eyes coming from him. But that's all. Just wanted to share just another moment of his generosity. And
10 years ago. Oh,
that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh yeah. That's enough.
Thanks, Mikey and Jesse. Jesse. I'd like to call up Jeff Cavelli and Al Singer, who were two of many of Bill's friends from his ham radio world.
I met Bill in 1973 at Cleveland Mobile Radio. I come out of the Navy. He was driving a Mercedes in a suit, but then he'd work in the warehouse. I was in sales and I had a suit, but I didn't work in the warehouse. And I thought, gee, a Mercedes in a suit, couldn't believe it. But we became friends. Later on, I worked at Amateur Electronics Supply, his favorite radio store, along with all the Radio Shacks in the world. Even the one out at his college here out in, where was that? Lima, Ohio? Finley? Anyway, he just talked about Radio Shack, and now there's no more Radio Shack, so he was really down, yeah. And he would come down to the store probably once a week at least. In fact, Bill was the first one to have a credit card from Amateur Electronics Supply, the whole company. It's a worldwide company, the first one to have credit, where all you had to do was sign the paper, and we had everything with these things. You guys remember these? Ballpoint pen, you could sign it, and he would come in, buy a radio, and he wouldn't leave without buying something, even if it was just a connector. It didn't make any difference. And as far as generosity, he was amazing. One time at Dayton, Al and I always go to Dayton along with Bill, and it's the world's biggest radio convention. I spent $1,500 at 7 o'clock on a Friday morning. That was the first when they first opened up, and that's all I had. So I bought this receiver I always wanted, and I bring it over by his car with Al. And he says, "Oh, you got one of those? Oh, I want one of them." I said, "Well, I'll look for one if you want, but I'm broke. Do you have any loot?" He goes, "Yeah." He said, "What do you need?" I said, "Well, how about $1,000?" "Yep, no problem." And everything's in cash. $1,000, no problem. But one time he needed something real bad because he wanted a radio, and he didn't have enough money. And I said, "Well, we've got the bank in a box." That's what I call a bank in a box. He says, "Yeah, but I need more than $400. I said, "Well, I've got the money," so I returned it. But he would always do what he could to help somebody. And he didn't want to put anybody out. In fact, in the last few years, we would get together on Wednesdays, first Wednesday a month, and go to Bob Evans and then come back to the house and just have a good time. he couldn't drive, so I'd go pick him up, bring him up to Willoughby, where I live in Willoughby, and then take him back to Shaker Heights. And we had a lot of fun with ham radio, I'll tell you. I got a story about his cat, the latest one. Oh, that's funny. He bought a radio, it was bought at an auction. It was made in 1964, brand new in a box. So you opened the thing up, and it didn't work. Oh, he was frustrated, so I fixed it for him. In the meantime, the cat took over the box. The cat wanted to sleep on that box. I don't know what it was about the box, but the Collins wanted to sleep on that box. It was American made too, by the way. And I think he still has a radio because I sold him a speaker. We always swapped radios and stuff. So we didn't, not too much money exchange, just swap the radios. And but that cat just loved that box, probably to this day. But a generous guy. Whenever we would have, my wife and I, Lucy, would have him over for his birthday, New Year's Eve. And yeah, he liked hamburgers, not with a bun, just the hamburger. I said, "You sure?" He said, "Well, I'll cheat today. I'll have a bun," because he wasn't supposed to have bread. And same thing with Bob Evans. It would normally be a salad, but then he would cheat. He says, "Well." And then I had these raspberry candies, the ones with the small, the soft filling. Oh, he loved them. There'd be a jar in my shack, my radio room, down in the basement. And then he saw a jar of Beeman's gum. He goes, "Oh, I like Beeman's gum." I said, "Okay, how many packs do you want?" "What do you mean packs?" I brought a whole big bag because I get it over at the West Side, B.A. Sweeties. If you ever want to get Beeman's gum, and it was raspberries. But anyway, what a friend! I'll tell you, just amazing. He was a lot. Sorry, a lot of fun. He'll be missed.
Yes, he will.
I met Bill when he's about around 16, I believe. Oh, okay. We can get up there a little closer. I know how to work these things. Sometimes. And at that time, I think he was just learning how to drive. His mother was teaching him, and behold to me, she taught him how to drive a stick shift, which is almost unknown today. There's no such thing anymore, I don't think. But we had many good years. We went to Dayton every year for a number of years, and we had some good times. And Evie, he was he was the apple or whatever. He was your sister. He was his. No, I'm all confused. But I will miss him, and he's been so good to me. And what can I say? Just wish we could have him back here. Okay. Thank you.
Don't y'all just want to go to Dayton now?
Yeah.
I gotta see the inside on one of these things.
No, I'm okay.
In this moment of blessed memory and reflection, Evie, you have your hand raised. So, yes?
I wanted to say something.
Okay.
Now?
Yeah?
Okay. Yeah.
Take the mic.
Can you
Bring the microphone.
Can we bring the mic?
You just stay right
Yeah,
there.
bring
Yeah,
Stay seated.
yeah.
I was like,
The mic's coming to you.
Would not have
Thank
been.
you.
No, no.
I was like,
Nothing good.
Yeah, I'm like, I just had a microphone.
I always wanted a baby brother, and my mother could not have any more, or my father, so we just went along the way we were. Unbeknownst to me, my parents had put their name in an adoption agency to adopt a baby. And about 2 or 3 years later, they were driving home on Fernway Road near Fernway School, where I went to school, and my father was in a very unusual way, was driving slowly, honking the horn, and in the front seat was my mother, this tiny little baby boy, and my dad. And we were just overjoyed that we had a new member of the family, and he was terrific. He was just adorable. He was a little naughty at times because he would hide. He took great pleasure in hiding from us so that we would have to look for him. And he wasn't very vocal, so we had a lot of trouble finding him. Anyhow, he loved to torture Gordon, and Gordon, he would bait Gordon and have him, he'd run away from Gordon or hit him, and Gordon would be off and running. Of course, it's a little bit of a difference in height at that time, because I think Bill was around 11. But anyhow, one time, and I would help, one time we couldn't find him. He was nowhere to be found. And I had to go to the bathroom. I went into my bathroom, and I see a shadowy thing in the shower. So I'm thinking, oh my God, this is a great opportunity. So I said, "Boo!" And my brother almost had a heart attack. We laughed so hard about that because he didn't expect it, and I pulled one over on him. But I loved him, and I'm going to miss him like crazy. But I know he's in a better place, so I really can't be that sad because I loved him. I didn't want him to suffer.
Thank you, Evie.
Yes.
Thank you. He got to be your brother.
He sure was.
How awesome. What a privilege. They say our life is a dance to a song we cannot hear. The melody courses through us for a little while, then it seems to cease. Whence the melody, whither does it go? In darkness, as in light, we turn to the source of life and ask for answers to life's mysteries. Today is not about answers. Today is about his life and the response it gave in gratitude and in love. So do we offer these words of compassion, the words of the El Male prayer, and I invite you, if you are able, and it's only if you're able, to please rise for these blessed words. El Male Rachamim, Shochem Bamromim, חמצי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, עם קידושים ותחורים כזוהר הרקיע מזכירים את נשמת בר בן חיים שלח לעולמו, בעל הרחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר Amen. God, full of compassion, grant perfect rest now in your sheltering presence to our beloved Bill, Uncle Bill, our friend Bill, Billy Bob, who has entered eternity. God, let him find refuge forever in the shadow of your wings. Let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God, you are his inheritance, and he is yours, and he's a good inheritance. May he rest in peace. As together we say, Amen. And just before we continue with, as I mentioned, the opportunity to spread earth in this grave and assist Bill in that way, we offer the words of the Kaddish praise. These are difficult words to say, not just because they're in ancient Aramaic, but because they're thrown to us at a difficult moment. They're like a rope ladder we climb out of this space of grief, gently to a place of solace. So we offer these words slowly with love and remembrance. We say, Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ba'alma diberach hiruteh, v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon yomechon, ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו, יהי שמי רבא מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמין, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, ואמירן בעלמא ואמרו, יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיים, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mrama. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Hamakom yenchem etchem b'toch sha'ar avlei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May God comfort you, each of you, all of you among the mourners of Zion. We, in just a moment, we'll continue here with the family having the chance, and then all of us, as we wish, to spread earth. I want to acknowledge during the festival of Sukkot that in the coming days, at Sukkot Yizkor services on Sunday morning, at upcoming Shabbat services at Fairmount Temple, Bill's name will be lifted up whenever we offer our memorial prayers with love and with solidarity with the family. And if you don't live in town, or if you're not eager to get over and inside to a sanctuary, you can feel free to live stream at fairmounttemple.org. So we're going to continue now.
Yeah, oh yeah. There was a place in Dayton selected for a steakhouse. Like a little house. It is pretty good. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, oh yeah.
One year, I always say, only has 500 stays. And Lori's closer. That's his closer.
So that works out easy for you.
Yes.
And for them.
Yes. Well, she's a rabbi, but she's not she's working. Yes, she's
Finally got to this
she really
their place.
she loves the country. She's really
Oh yeah.
She was a Jew.
Are you living in Jersey? Are you back?
Yes, sir. Very good. Yes.
Oh yeah.
There, yeah.
A non-stopper.
On the hand.
Elliot.
She said,
Neil, it's the Schleins, and we're coming to say hello, but...
Thank you. I saw you over there.
yeah, I don't move too quick.
It's okay. We're good.
Good.
Thank you.
Sure.
Tell me about it.
I know you like Bill.
No. Not in that position. No.
Your mom wanted any someone standing. So, but I didn't feel
Oh, you got a whole book? Oh, yeah. That was his second home. Amateur electronics. Oh yeah, I remember these. Yeah, I think I got one somewhere around.
Probably don't work, but it's okay. It's all dried out of it, but these are.
Yeah.
You guys are the radio.
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
That was the mother of the. Oh yeah. Oh, you make arrangements the first part of the year, and you count the days until it came. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I drove them most of the time. 99% of the time I drove. He went with me. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh geez.
Thank you, Mary.
I can't remember. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I know who it is. I know who it is. I haven't seen you in so long.
I'm sorry, I was standing right
Is
here.
this my phone? I'm trying to figure out. That's okay.
Are you wanting to get it off?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not sure. Yes, I got it.
Turn that. Yep. There you go.
Thank you. Oh, this is not my phone. This is someone else's.
That was all right. Excuse me.
There's my phone.
Oh.
Every year.